Hello, welcome to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading 2 Samuel chapter 23. Now, these be the last words of David. David, the son of Jesse, said, and the man who was raised up on high, the anointed of the God of Jacob, and the sweet psalmist of Israel, said, The Spirit of the Lord spake by me, and his word was in my tongue. The God of Israel said, The rock of Israel spake to me, He that ruleth over men must be just, ruling in the fear of God. And he shall be as the light of the morning, when the sun riseth, even a morning without clouds, as the tender grass springing out of the earth by clear shining after rain. Although my house be not so with God, yet he hath made with me an everlasting covenant, ordered in all things, and sure, for this is all my salvation and all my desire, although he make it not to grow. But the sons of Belial shall be all of them as thorns thrust away, because they cannot be taken with hands. But the man that shall touch them must be fenced with iron and the staff of a spear, and they shall be utterly burned with fire in the same place. These be the names of the mighty men whom David had. The Tachomite that sat in the seat, chief among the captains, the same was Adino the Esnite. He lifted up his spear against 800, whom he slew at one time. And after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo the Ahohite, one of the three mighty men with David. When they defied the Philistines that were gathered together to battle, and the men of Israel were gone away, he arose and smote the Philistines until his hand was weary, and his hand clave unto the sword. And the Lord wrought a great victory that day, and the people returned after him only to spoil. And after him was Shemaiah, the son of Agi, the Hararite. And the Philistines were gathered together into a troop, where was a piece of ground full of lentils. And the people fled from the Philistines. But he stood in the midst of the ground, and defended it, and slew the Philistines. And the Lord wrought a great victory. And 3 of the 30 chief went down, and came to David in the harvest time unto the cave of Adullam, and the troop of the Philistines pitched in the valley of Rephaim. And David was then in an hold, and the garrison of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. And David longed and said, Oh, that one would give me drink of the water of the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. And the 3 mighty men brake through the host of the Philistines, and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate, and took it, and brought it to David. Nevertheless, he would not drink thereof, but poured it out unto the Lord. And he said, Be it far from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Is not this the blood of the men that went in jeopardy of their lives? Therefore he would not drink it. These things did these 3 mighty men. And Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief among 3, and he lifted up his spear against 300, and slew them, and had this name among 3. Was he not most honorable of 3? Therefore he was their captain. Howbeit he attained not unto the first 3. And Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man, of Kabzeel, who had done many acts, he slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of a pit in time of snow. And he slew an Egyptian, a goodly man, and the Egyptian had a spear in his hand. But he went down to him with a staff, and plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand, and slew him with his own spear. These things did Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and had the name among the 3 mighty men. He was more honorable than the 30, but he attained not to the first 3, and David set him over his guard. Ashael, the brother of Joab, was one of the 30. Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem, Shammah the Harodite, Elika the Harodite, Helez the Paltite, Ira the son of Ikesh the Tekoite, Abizer the Anethothite, Mebunai the Hushathite, Zalman the Ahohite, Mehari the Netophathite, Haleb the son of Baanah, a Netophathite, Ittai the son of Ribai, out of Gibeah, of the children of Benjamin, Benaiah the Pirathonite, Hiddai, of the Brooks of Gash, Abilbon the Arpathite, Asmaveth the Barhumite, Elihabah the Shalbonite, of the sons of Jashin, Jonathan, Shema the Hararite, Ahiam the son of Sharar the Hararite, Eliphalet the son of Ahazbai, the son of Machchathite, Eliam the son of Ahithophel the Gileonite, Hezrai the Carmelite, Pearai the Arbite, Igal the son of Nathan of Zobah, Bani the Gadite, Zelek the Ammonite, Nahari the Betherite, armor bearer to Joab the son of Zariah, Ira and Arthite, Gareb and Ithrite, Uriah the Hittite, 30 and 7 in all. In the previous chapter, 2 Samuel 22, the entire chapter is a song by David honoring God's mercy after Israel defeats four mighty Philistines. In the current chapter, 2 Samuel 23, David is nearing the end of his life. He is living out of a military base instead of a palace. David has a new prestigious Dream 3 team that closely assists David. Summarizing 2 Samuel 23. So, verse 1 lets us know that in this chapter, David's last words are going to be documented. David starts talking from verse 3 to 7, and this is one of those instances where knowledge of spacing can clue us in on what piece of information is being given. You see how verse 8 is spaced? This is a regular narration where we can document action or important information. When we look at that compared to verse 7, you see how the indent is so much more severe, where it's text in the middle of a page. This is because it's text, it's speech or a song or something like that, maybe a recipe. That would always be indented like this. So just if you're ever reading and you find you're feeling like you're glazing over, your eyes are glazing over, spacing in paragraphs, changing in spacing, that can, recognizing that pattern might be something that, wakes you up a little, but it does mean something has changed if the spacing has changed. All right, so David's talking. In verse 3, the God of Israel spoke. The rock of Israel said to me. So this is David, and he's saying exactly what God said in verse 3. So when there's a ruler over people, they need to have fear for God. He's like a light of the morning at sunrise, like brightness after rain. And then we get to verse 5. Then David says, if my house were not right with God, surely he would not have made with me an everlasting covenant. So from verse 5 to 7, I am not sure if God said that, because why would God say, if my house were not right with God, and saying it in third person? So he continues talking from verse 5 to 7, and he's saying, if I wasn't right with God, surely he wouldn't have made a covenant with me, and it's been secured. And we get to verse 6 and 7. He says, evil men are to be cast aside like thorns. Whoever touches thorns must use special tools, which should be burned up. We get to verse 8. And verse 8 through 12 gives us some information about who is advising David. In verse 8, we have Josheb Beshebeth. It said he slew 800 men in one encounter. We have verse 9, Eleazar. We have 11, Shema. Then we get 13 to 18. So in verse 13, 3 and 30 of chief warriors. So what this is saying, because, well, okay, let me just, 3 of 30 warriors came down to David. So David is living out of a stronghold. This is a king who's been anointed by God. He was anointed chapters ago, and he still does not have stable living condition. He's living out of a stronghold. That's what he was doing before when Saul was after his life. David experienced having a hostile takeover, once by his son, a second time by a different man. So I honestly thought David was still living in his palace, but no, he's living out of the stronghold military base. It's what you do when you're being hunted. And this is a king. Verse 15, David says, "Oh, that someone would give me some water." So the three mighty warriors, verse 6, uh, 3 of 30 chief is the same. Three guys, a special group. So they got the water because they had to go through Philistine lines. Um, so the reason why this is a deal, why David couldn't go get it himself, right? Okay. In chapter 2 Samuel chapter 21, verses 16 through 17, so David went to battle with the Israelites and he got exhausted or something happened and his men thought that he was in danger. So after this last experience in 2 Samuel 21, his men don't want him doing anything that is that could put him in harm's way. He's getting older now. How we know that this is a uh, uh there's something going on with the Philistines here. So it says Philistines was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. They're camped nearby. So these men having to get water for David, they're having to have this sort of confrontational uh, encounter with them because they've been the adversary of Israel forever. So David asked for them to get him a drink. They went and got the drink, and David refused to drink it and poured it on the floor before the Lord. Is it not the blood of men who went at the risk of their lives? And it says, such were the exploits of the three mighty warriors. Okay, so Abishai, he was not held in greater honor than the three. He became their commander, though he was not included among them. So this new three, this is like a special group of assistants to help David with what his tasks were on day to day. I also wanted to just point out how we're not seeing Joab being mentioned anywhere here. And Joab has been David's loyal supporter, loyal man in his kingdom. So when we get to chapter 19, verse 13, this is when David has had to deal with his son Absalom trying to take over David's kingdom, hostile. David's men had to neutralize the threat. They had to take Absalom's life. So this is David's third child that he's lost, and he's mourning loudly. So in chapter 19, Joab, who has been working with David for a while now, Joab tells him this isn't a good look because there's a lot of people who don't even want you to be their king. And this is how you're acting. So when we see later on in that chapter, after Joab tells David this, we see in verse 13, David sending a message to Amasa. And Amasa is David's son Absalom, who staged a takeover of Israel so bad that David had to leave, running and crying barefoot. Amasa was Absalom's war captain. So the commander of his army, that's what Amasa did. David is saying, hey, you can come work with us, work in place of Joab in some translations. When we look at chapter 20, verse 4, after 2 Samuel 19, when Joab recommends to David that you show your face, show these people that you want their support behind you as their king, because you need them to support you. After Joab has that conversation with David, now you see in chapter 14, when David needs something, he goes and he asks Amasa. He goes and asks Abishai. And when we look through here, we don't see David talking about Joab. Abishai, the brother of Joab, Benaiah, Ashael, Shema, Helez, Abiezer, the armor bearer of Joab. So we don't even see Joab being mentioned, as faithful as he's been. Even in chapter 20, verse 7, Joab's men. So when David wants to talk to someone, this is chapter 20. So this is after Joab told David, look, it's not a good look for you to be out here crying about someone who tried to take you away from your kingdom. So we get down here to verse 7. Joab's men, when David said to Abishai, so David isn't even coming to Joab anymore. He's going straight to Abishai. He's going straight to Amasa. We also learn in 7 to 9 that Amasa, the one who was Absalom's army captain, Amasa is now wearing Joab's clothes. It's small. David can hire who he wants to, but just the fact that you had someone so loyal and they told you something that actually might have helped, because now he's living in a military base when he had a palace. Well, that is all for 2 Samuel chapter 20. I love you. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Thank you for comment, and subscribing. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I hope that you learned something. I love you. Have a wonderful day.